welcome back to the Sweet Star Candle YouTube channel, and today I'm going to be making a sweetheart candy inspired candle. So for step 1, you need to figure out what vessel you want to use. So for this tutorial, I'm going to be using a 12.25 ounce Libby jar, and I'll have a link down below to where I purchased this. I'm going to get this cleaned out with some isopropyl alcohol. That way our wax will stick really well. As you can see, when you get a jar from the manufacturer, there will be like little dust particles, but it's just because it could have sat in a warehouse or in shipping. You never know. So I like to get all of that out. My next step is going to be either measuring out the wax to fill up our first layer in this candle, or you can start on your embeds. I have a time that pops up on screen if you want to just go ahead and get started with your heart embeds, but I'm personally going to start with this since this has to sit overnight. I've had my large wax melter warming up for about 2 hours, so it's a perfect temperature to pour my candle wax. And I have a really neat setup where I can have my candle wax up here and then it can fall into my metal pitcher. So for this candle, I'm going to need 255 grams of candle wax. If your wax is 200 degrees Fahrenheit, feel free to add fragrance oil, but I'm going to add my color and mica powder. So for this candle, I want it to kind of look like the box of a conversation heart. So I'm going to be using some red liquid candle dye, and I'm just going to add 1 drop of this. I'm also going to be adding some mica powder. This is optional, but if you are using a wooden wick, you can have some mica powder. This is Nature Garden's Diamond Dust Mica Powder. I'm going to add about 1/2 of a 1/64 teaspoon, and that's just going to cause our candle to sparkle as it melts. I'm going to add this to my electric hot plate while I get my wooden wick on my candle ready. This will just keep my wax liquid, and also if it wasn't 200 degrees before, you can use the electric hot plate to get your wax up to 200 degrees Fahrenheit before you add in your fragrance oil. And I have a link down below to what specific wax that I use as well. So for my wick, I'm going to be using wooden wicks from Makesy. They have different labels now, but this is a 5-inch height with a 0.375 width. I'm going to put that on my wooden wick tabs. These are from Aztec Candle Supply, and then I've got some wooden wick stickers also from Aztec Candle Supply. What I like to do is to try to get my wooden wick as center as possible in the middle tab. Get my sticker added onto the bottom, and I'll try to get the metal tab to get as center as I can on the sticker. And then if you've got a wooden wick placer, I would definitely use that, but if you don't have one, just try to see the center of your candle and put it in the middle as best as possible. And then you can look at it from the side. This one's a little bit too much to the right, so I'll just slightly kind of wiggle the wooden wick over just a little bit, so that way it's more in the center. So before I pour my candle wax, I'm actually going to hit my jar with a heat gun. And what that will do is slow down the process of the wax cooling, and it will be more likely to prevent wet spots. So now I can pour my candle wax in. I'm going to let my wax fully solidify overnight, and I'll be back tomorrow. And as you can see, the mica powder causes a lot of sparkling, and then as the candle melts, the sparkles will slowly be let out. Okay, so I'm back the very next day, and my candle has solidified, but it's sunken in on top, so I'm going to hit the top of the heat gun just so it's flat and perfect for our hearts that are going to go on top. So while my candle is re-solidifying, I'm going to get started on my heart embeds. So this part is meant to look like the box. I'll have a picture that pops up on here. This is kind of my inspiration picture. And then I think for my hearts, my colors are going to be blue, yellow, and white. Each of those colors will mix really well with the red. So blue and red will make purple, white and red will make pink, and then yellow and red will hopefully make orange. So it'll be like a really pretty effect on top, like a rainbow. So that's my idea. So first, I think I'm going to be making the white. So that way I can just add color to the wax and not have to worry about cleaning my picture out. So I've got my Presto pot here, and then inside of this is my Hurricane Embed Wax. This is what I use for the wax that goes on top of candles. This has a higher heat tolerance, so it takes longer to melt compared to like a wax melt wax, for example. So I'm going to get this turned on, and then once it's melted I can start on my embeds. So my wax has melted down, and I'm just going to pour a little bit into my cleaned out pitcher. The reason I want a clean pitcher is because I'm going to be doing the white first, and if the red mixes with the white, I'm going to have pink hearts on top, and I don't want that. So I'm just going to add a little bit of wax to my pitcher. I really don't need a lot since I'm only going to need a couple hearts per color, since my jar isn't really that big. I'm going to get my Presto pot turned off, and be really careful around your Presto pot, especially if you turned it up to like 300 or 400 like I did, since this metal can be really hot and this tap can be really hot, so just be careful. Once I've let this quit dripping into my pitcher, I'm going to be adding some mica powder, and I'm not going to add fragrance oil since this is just the embeds on top, and the fragrance oil won't really be great in embed wax to begin with. So I'm just going to set this to the side. So my first color is going to be the white, like I said. I'm going to add some mica powder to my embed wax. Same mica powder I use for my candle. And I'm going to use about 1/2 of a 1/64 teaspoon. I'm going to get that mixed together. I'm going to go ahead and pour my wax. It's okay if this wax is hot because this silicone mold, it can withstand temperatures of up to like 400 degrees. And let me check, my wax isn't actually 400 degrees, I doubt it, but I'm going to check. It's at 193, so that's perfect. I'm going to pour about one line of each color into my mold, so I'm going to pour 5 white hearts. Now on to my next color. So while my wax is still liquid in here, I'm going to add 1 drop of blue liquid candle dye. I'm just going to add that right in there. I'm going to get that all mixed together. And I just added 1 drop. You really don't need a lot of candle dye since we're not coloring that much wax. And I'm going to pour my blue wax before my wax solidifies. I'm going to do 5 more hearts. So now I've got my blue wax poured. I'm going to have to clean out this pitcher. So I'm just going to hit it with my heat gun and pour out all the wax, and I'm going to get this cleaned out and I'll be right back. So I've got my pitcher and my spoon cleaned off, and I'm going to get some more wax. I just need a tiny amount for my yellow. I'm going to get my pitcher put somewhere else. So now that I've got my yellow wax, it's sort of solidifying, as you can see, so I'm going to add this to my electric hot plate. So this wax, I'm going to add mica powder one more time. Same mica powder, 1/2 1/64 teaspoon. And this is optional, by the way. And if you're using mica powder in candles, the only wicks that I tested it with is wooden wicks. Wooden wicks should be just fine. If you're using cotton wicks, mica powder may clog up the wicks and your candle might turn out good. So If you're going to try this recipe, just make sure you use a wooden wick. So to this wax, I'm going to add 1 drop yellow liquid candle dye. I'm going to get my wax melted down and my yellow candle dye and mica powder mixed in. And I'll be right back. So I've got my yellow liquid candle dye, or yellow wax I mean, all melted down in there. And I'm going to pour it into my silicone mold. I'm going to let these embeds sit for about 2 to 3 hours. That way when I come back they'll be fully solidified and then we can add them to the top of our candle. So I'll be right back. So I've let them sit for about 1.5 hours, 2 hours. And they are fully solidified. So now I'm going to trim my wooden wick. And this is just to get it out of the way so I can add my hearts a little easier. I'll have this tool linked down below. This is great for trimming up wooden wicks. Or you can use scissors if you don't have one of those. Let me get these all out of the silicone mold. So I think my plan is going to be adding basically all the colors around the wooden wick so they'll kind of all blend together and look really pretty. I will get it melting in the sun so you guys can see the final product. And with these, unlike my wax melts, they kind of need to be pretty on the bottom because once we put it into the candle, it'll push the wax out of the way. So like these little bits and pieces, just try to take them off. So I'm going to place yellow one right here, and because this wax is solidified I can just press my embed down and it's not going to displace any of the wax or kind of melt into the wax and kind of like leak everywhere. As you can see, it just goes right in. I'm going to add a white one right here, and you can add these in however you want to. You can also change up the colors of your heart embeds. Side. I'm going to just kind of randomly put these in, just like that. Then I'm going to add a yellow one in between my white and blue, and then a white one between my yellow and blue, and then a blue one on this side. I can't fit any more embeds on top, so that's my final candle. I think it turned out really cute. I think it will look even better once I get it melting, so I'll cut to that right now. Thank you everyone for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe. I have a link down below to some of my other Valentine's Day tutorials. And if you want to check out the candles and wax melts I sell in my small business, I'll have a link down below to my website. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you guys next week.